Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we have with us Mr. Sujith Dhati, Chief Information Officer at the Greater Family Health. Mr. Dhati is a technology leader and advisor to the board and C-suite, with over 20 years of healthcare and information technology expertise. He is currently pursuing a master's degree in information and cyber security at UC Berkeley. He will be sharing his experience and career advice with us. So let's start off, Mr. Dhati. How do you manage time between attending university classes and working?
So it is without a doubt a challenging aspect of doing masters is that you have to manage your full-time work and study for masters. But it is a doable challenge because many people have done masters before. So that should motivate us to be able to get through the masters. So what I've done is I've committed to the 18 months that the program will take. And I schedule my vacation or longer breaks during the breaks that the university has. And in our case, it's 3 months of classes, 2 weeks of break, and then again, 3 months, 2 weeks break, and so on. So you repeat that 5 times. So I schedule my vacations or longer breaks during that time. Now, COVID has kind of helped as well because there's not much you can do outside. So that helps, keep us more focused on what I need to do. And then we find like local parks and local areas that we can go to quickly during the weekends. And then we wait for the 2-week breaks to do something better. But yeah, so it's basically committing to the 8 months. It's not easy, but you can manage and get it done.
Yeah. So in terms of your actual work, how do you adapt to new technological developments in your field?
So I would say that's the important question right at the early part of your career and throughout your career, because what is clear in the modern economy is that technology is in every aspect and every field, and change is fairly constant in just about any field you're in. So what I do to keep up with technology is I keep up with general news, business news, technology related news, now cybersecurity news for the past decade or so. And then I also watch for vendor specific news where they release new products, new version features, so that way we stay current with functions that are already available to our vendors. And then the other thing I do is I use early adopters within our company to pilot certain technologies within a limited scope. So I know within IT, we are more capable of adapting new technology, test it out. And then I have other teams, other departments that are also willing to try out new technologies. So we pilot some of those and keep it on standby, if you will. One example I can give you is Microsoft Teams was released a couple of years ago, but our company, because it's a very localized company, we prefer face-to-face meetings more than virtual meetings. But I knew it was useful technology, so in IT, we definitely had a need for it. So we were using it, and then a few other teams were using it. And then it just sat there within that group. But then as soon as COVID hit, all of a sudden we needed to be able to do a lot of virtual meetings. We needed to have company-wide meetings. We needed people to work remotely. We needed to see a subset of our patients through virtual patient care. So we already had this tested and ready within our company. So we were able to roll it out much quicker because we were piloting, preparing, and whenever the opportunity came, we were ready to go. So I think you have to keep up with technology, try it out, pilot it, and then be ready for when the opportunity comes to roll it out.
Yeah. And when you were younger, did you have a hobby or interest that interested you in your current profession?
The earliest thing I can remember is I was always curious about how things work. So any toys that people gave me, my parents or relatives gave me, anything electronic, I would fairly quickly dismantle it to figure out how it worked. So curiosity drove me into doing some hobby electronics. So I got into circuit boards and just doing some circuit related work just from a hobby standpoint, nothing technical. And then that got me a little more interested in computers. And then I had the opportunity to take computer science in 11th and 12th grade. So I got exposed to coding. I was able to write a code, and there was a science fair where I created a quiz program for other students to take in the science fair. So it's interesting to see that experience or go through that experience of writing code, having people use your product, quiz application in that scenario. So that got me interested in coding, software design, and then I continued to pursue computer science.
Nice. Yeah. Are there any other experiences you've had that, interested you more in IT and cybersecurity?
I think really the curiosity problem solve, which is the other aspect of it that I enjoy, is really applying technology to solve business needs. So that was a big motivation for me to go into computer science. I felt like there was some reason that I felt a connection with software writing, software code, solving problems through technology.
Nice. And in terms of today's world, what makes cybersecurity so relevant currently?
So the way I look at it is throughout human history, there's innovation that comes up, any type of innovation. Usually that increases efficiency, there's more profit in certain areas, and then whether we want it or not, criminals tend to follow those areas where there's money or there's easy way to steal money. And right now with the combination of high-speed bandwidth, technology in just about every field, and cryptocurrency, you have a nice combination for criminals to come in, steal information, ransom companies, and then you also have nation states that are engaged in espionage, and they can use the digital system to prepare and stand on standby to do a more damaging attack within your country. So cybersecurity is the next phase of IT. Usually when innovation comes up, there's not much focus on security, so security lags behind. And so why we're seeing cybersecurity as an important field right now is because innovation has transformed life around just about every area, but securing it was not part of that process. And in came the criminals. If you eliminate all the criminal threats, then cybersecurity would not be as important. But because of the dangers, cybersecurity, not just within IT, pure IT field, but in just about every aspect where we use technology has become critical.
Yeah, and in terms of your job, what kind of tasks does your job demand on a daily basis?
So I would categorize it into three broad areas. IT operations was the predominant and is still the predominant area of my work. Then in the past decade or so, cybersecurity has become a critical piece. And then in the leadership role, I have to keep an eye on what's coming around the corner. What are the things I need to do to prepare from an IT technology standpoint to make sure we're ready for whatever the business plans are or whatever changes that are happening in the industry to make sure we're ready for those changes. IT operations can involve all the traditional IT stuff. So making sure your servers are running appropriately, making sure your local area network is performing properly, your connection from each of your clinics to the servers is working optimally, running help desks, all those things go into our IT operations. And then cybersecurity, especially since I moved over to healthcare, has been a very critical component of my role. So making sure every area of our IT operations has security built into it, configuration-wise, monitoring-wise, and even that field is such a vast, evolving field. You have to put more ongoing time. It's never one-time task. It's like continuously improving it, monitoring it, fixing gaps, adapting new methods to keep your environment secure. So that's taking up more time. Mm-hmm. And then you always have to keep up with technology to figure out what's coming up around the corner.
Yeah. And over the past few years, have you had any internships involved with IT and cybersecurity?
Internships?
Yes, internship.
We haven't, like at my company, we haven't tried that yet, but that may be something we have to consider as we engage and invest more into cybersecurity, is to bring in young talent and try to see how maybe we can help them train and help them give an opportunity. Internships was definitely very beneficial for me in the early part for me to figure out what my passion was, what my driving motivation was. So I agree that that's something that we should open up for within our company, try to give young talent opportunities to grow. We haven't done that yet, but it's something we should do.
Yeah, and what types of skills do you think students need in today's society to succeed in a IT career or a cybersecurity career?
So what I've learned in the master's that I'm doing right now as I get a fuller picture of cybersecurity is that it is such a vast field, surprisingly enough, and it's not always technical in nature. So it doesn't mean that you have to know how to code. You don't need to be, you don't need a lot of years of coding or any coding. There are many areas of cybersecurity where what you're really doing is problem solving, doing some detective work, paying attention to detail. So what we've seen is that people from a variety of backgrounds can succeed in cybersecurity. So I would encourage people from, even if you don't feel that you can code, you should not be intimidated by the field. You should look at taking some one-on-one level courses and bachelor's degree or even online courses. Any opportunity you get to take like basic cybersecurity courses, you should, because the field is wide open and this is going to last for at least 50, 60 years before it's saturated enough with enough people. So this is a great field to explore. So I would encourage anybody that has attention to detail, that has interest in technology, to go pursue this field. So you can come at it from a different angle. So the students that I have in the class have all variety of backgrounds. So it's not limited to a technology background. You can come in from a variety.
Yeah, and do you think the role of cybersecurity in today's world will change into the future, or do you think it will remain the same mostly?
It'll expand, and so right now we're under significant attack as a nation and democracies around the world in general. So the effort that's underway is to build cybersecurity into every aspect of technology. So to do that, you have to hire a lot of people, and every stage of technology needs to incorporate cybersecurity mindset. So that's what's underway, and it is something that is so broad and economy-wide that the opportunities are significant in this field. So it's not just in software companies, it's not just in hardware companies, it's just anywhere and everywhere there's technology used, there's a need for a cybersecurity role.
Yeah.
So the roles have expanded over time. You also have specialized roles and then roles that supervise many different cybersecurity roles. So you can, similar to any other field, you can either specialize or you can start in a specialized role. And then if you have the ability to see bigger picture, you can then expand higher up, move up the ladder. So it's a field that's new, but very important and growing. So there's plenty of opportunity. It'll continue to evolve. It's going to become part of IT, part of everyday technology.
Yeah. And finally, what advice would you give to students who would like to pursue a career in STEM?
So there were two things I wanted to highlight for students. So what I found is that if you have a passion for your field, whether it be biotech, computers, engineering, oftentimes you may find yourself ahead of what they're teaching you on those subjects at the university, like I found myself with computer science. So taking advantage of the liberal arts education where you take courses in other subjects, like for me, I knew that I wanted to apply technology for business problems. So I did a minor in business administration. So the accounting class, finance class, I took a law class, public speaking class. I found value in all of those compared to computer science. Even though that was useful, computer classes, I felt I was ahead of that already with whatever work I was doing on my own. But all these other courses were very beneficial for me to be able to connect the dots when I later in my career had to solve business problems. So I would encourage students to take advantage of that, include a cybersecurity course, even if you're in like biotech, for example. If you have an opportunity to take a cybersecurity course, you should. And then the other thing I would say is that you should invest time into figuring out what your motivation is, what your driving force is, so that way you can drive your career over the next 20 years 40 years. And for me, it took some time. I knew I was computer science. I knew I wanted to solve business problems through use of technology. So as I did internships, that continued to affirm that mindset. I enjoyed doing those things. And then the first few years of my career, I knew that the problems I was solving through software design and development was exactly what I wanted to do. And then the other point I would make is that if you understand that your goal, like in my case, it was applying technology to solve business needs, you may need to be open to the idea that it may not just be purely software design and development. So I switched over to infrastructure and then moved up in that direction. So as long as you have a clear understanding of what motivates you, you have to be open to take some forks along the way that still meets that goal that what drives you. But don't fixate on just one narrow area of your career. It may open up other doors. So you have to be ready for that as long as your mission of what motivates you is still in line with those forks.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely a very important part. So yeah, thank you for your time today. And I'm sure you helped a lot of students decide, the next steps they need to take to achieve a successful STEM career. So yeah, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to help.